like to give a little bit of an introduction to why we're here. And I wanted to ask one of our panelists, one of our colleagues, to perhaps to explain what the Conference of States Parties is and why we're here. And so Madeleine Harvey-Samuelson, the Secretary of State to Assery, or Minister for Children and Elderly and Gender Equality from the Swedish Government, will start us off by explaining a little bit about the Conference of States Parties. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to open this side event on a very important topic, right to participation, accessible online meetings. I'm very honored to be given the opportunity to make the introduction. The Minister for Children, Elderly and Gender, Mrs. Åsa Regnér, and I are both very pleased that the Swedish Disability Federation has taken the initiative to this side event in order to elaborate on how accessible online meetings could strengthen the right to accessibility and participation. As responsible for the coordination of disability policies in the Swedish government, I'm very eager to listen to all the interesting speakers represented here this morning, chaired by Mrs. Catherine Norton from the European Disability Forum and Mrs. Maria Johansson, chair from one of our Swedish umbrella organizations named Equally Unique. I also, of course, look forward to take part of the interventions that will come from the floor. Let me start by reminding of Article 9 in the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This article expresses how to enable women and men, girls and boys, persons with disabilities to live independently and participate fully in all aspects of life by improved accessibility. So what does this mean? It means that the state parties shall take appropriate measures to ensure that persons with disabilities have access to the physical environment, to transportation, to information and communications, including information and communications technologies and systems. It also means that persons with disabilities, through improved accessibility, shall have the opportunity to attend an inclusive education, to participate in the labor market without discrimination, to enjoy legal capacity on an equal basis with others, and to the full realization of all human rights. To conclude, without accessibility, enjoyment of freedom of thought and expression may be seriously undermined and restricted. Against this background, I'm especially proud that the Swedish legislation on lack of reasonable accommodation as a form of discrimination. Today, we are going to experience how new technologies can be used to promote participation for women and men, girls and boys, persons with disabilities. But remember, only if they are designed in a way that ensures their accessibility, this aim can be fulfilled. New investments, research and production should contribute to eliminating inequalities, not to create new barriers. Representing the Swedish feminist government, I want to underline the importance of a gender perspective in this discussion, ensuring the empowerment of women. I believe that today's seminar can be a contribution to our efforts to create a more accessible society. I believe in the potential of modern information and communication technology in reaching sustainable development goals for learning, work, health, political participation all over the world. Accessible online meetings can be a tool for fulfilling that purpose of the convention. With this background, what are the measures to make progress towards a more accessible society and more inclusive decision-making? Firstly, the right to accessibility and to the participation must, according to my opinion, rest on a solid ground built on a set of human rights-based values. And secondly, we have the tools in our hands. We have the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Now it's our responsibility to implement and carry out the requirements of the Convention. I wish you all a good discussion. Thank you.
very much, State Secretary, for giving such a comprehensive introduction and explaining the context of the meeting this morning, both in terms of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the agenda of the Swedish feminist government. I want to hand the floor now to Carlotta Guller. She's the Gender Equality Focal Point, the Office for the UN Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you, Carlotta. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, great. Technology, as we were talking about. It's great when it works. So good morning to everyone. Yes, my name is Charlotta Goller, and I am the Gender Equality Focal Point of the Special Rapporteur, Katarina de Banda. And I will draw on the Rapporteur's report on the right to participation out of a gender perspective. And we'll also give an example of accessible online meetings for hard of hearing people in Bolivia. So to reiterate what Madeleine has already said, that participation is a core human rights principle. And the CRPD clearly states that persons with disabilities should be closely consulted with in all matters affecting them. And there should also be a gender perspective on all of the provisions in the Convention. However, the right to participation for persons with disabilities, and in particular women with disabilities, is often not respected. And this leads to exclusion and also a loss of invaluable competence and experience. As we have heard during these days, the CRPD shall serve as guidance to implementing the SDGs, and the SDGs should help implement the CRPD. One could say that they are mutually dependent. Despite the numbers of women and girls with disabilities, more than 500 million people worldwide experience grave human rights violations and intersectional forms of discrimination. They remain invisible on all levels. Their needs and concerns are not adequately reflected nor in the disability community nor in the women's rights movement. They are rarely consulted or engaged in public decision making, not to mention their lack of representation as holders of public offices. For women and girls with disabilities, many places are still unsafe for them to take part in open consultations. They may be inaccessible due to a disabling environment. It might not be able to enter the building or to access information. There may be a risk of abuse of women actually coming to the meeting place. Or they may be inaccessible due to discrimination. The women with disabilities may not even be allowed in because of their disability. And obviously, accessible online meetings could certainly be an alternative to meetings in a disabling environment. And to make this possible, I believe that empowerment of women and girls about their rights, and in particular their right to participation, is paramount. Strengthening organizations of women with disabilities and creating networks between them on different levels in society. So I would like to move on to an example that I have been told in Bolivia, in an organization of young hard of hearing people. And I know that we will see some very interesting examples of remote participation further on during this event. So this is just a short example that I would like to share. Young hard of hearing people in Bolivia, they conduct board meetings between local clubs in the country, make decisions and plan meetings via WhatsApp chat
They have created formal and informal meeting rooms for each purpose with administrators in charge of them. It's all in writing to make it accessible for the hard of hearing membership. They say that it's more accessible to them, mainly for economic reasons and due to large distances, and it makes it possible for them to be in touch more often. They also told me about another meeting app called IMO for the deaf, using sign language, where everything is visual and film, so that you can use sign language in the remote meeting. So, to sum up, I would like to give some recommendations to states. And the most important one, I think, is to not see the difficulties, but see the opportunities, and make use of existing innovations to increase participation for online citizens, and to complement other ways to include persons with disabilities in political and public life. And reach out directly to women and girls with disabilities, especially when cultural and social backgrounds make it unsafe for them to participate in open consultations. And as the Special Rapporteur wisely stated earlier this week in a panel, it's more a matter of approaches than a matter of resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carlotta, for your presentation and for highlighting in particular the gender dimension of the issue of participation, both in general, in decision making, but also in terms of meetings. And I just want to draw attention, I'm not sure what is on the live UN TV, I'm not sure if we have the subtitling yet. We still have some technical issues with that. But I wanted to just let you know that we do have a Twitter moderator, Maria Johansson, in the room. Welcome, Maria. So for those of you following online, we're using the hashtag R2PO, Right to Participate, and COSP9. Now we have something extremely interesting on the screen. Yes, I'm going to hand the floor to our co-organisers here today, to Mia Algren, to explain a bit more about what's happening with the web TV.
So my name is Mia Algren. I come from the Swedish Disability Federation. And I was just going to explain that we really wanted to do this event a little bit different. We wanted to have, people participating on Skype, and we really put a lot of effort in so that we would give you all an accessible example here. But it has been really hard. So what we are trying to do here is trying to learn from this experience, and we will also send out recommendations afterwards, so that next year this will be much better. So we're putting a lot of effort into this, and we're trying to make it work the next time. So have some patience, but we're working hard on it. And I would like to say that if you are listening in, and if you can see or get anything of what we're talking on the live TV, please write recommendations and suggestions on the Twitter feed, and we will try to take that in in the end of the session. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but we're working on it, and we hope it will be out there soon.
Thanks for the explanation, Mia. I think we all know that this is the reason why many people have shown up at this very early hour this morning in New York, is because this is an issue that we all want to learn about. So for many of the reasons that have been highlighted by the State Secretary and also by the Gender Equality Focal Point of the Special Rapporteur, but also additional issues of cost and ecology, that we cannot afford to be travelling by distance to meetings all the time. And we would want to reach out to people with disabilities in all communities, in rural areas, from different language groups. We have to find means to do this, and so it's a question of experimentation and trying to do it as well as we can. And on that note, I will go to Mia Larsdotter, representing the Begrips Family Group. We have, this is, I'm going to pass to my colleague here, Pilar Orero, who's going to
we wanted to do this on Skype, we didn't trust that the technology would work. So what we did was we recorded some experiences, some examples that we can learn from. So this is an example from we start with an example from Come Together project. And this is a project between Rwanda, Tanzania, and Sweden. And it's for persons with intellectual disabilities. So they are working to try to raise empowerment.
I am one of the ambassadors for Come Together. For 2 years we have been cooperating with other youth in Tanzania and in Rwanda to show that young persons with disabilities can claim our rights ourselves, and that everyone has the right to education. We have had 2 youth conferences in Dar es Salaam and in Stockholm. Now we will continue to work together, and we also look at ways to communicate through internet. Look.
There's a little slowness in the video because of the internet, but just to let you know that the technical issue with Web TV is sorted out. And now those people looking in and watching online also can see the sound translation and the card.
I am participating with other youth in Tanzania and in Rwanda to show that conferences in Dar es Salaam and in Stockholm. Now we will continue to work together, and we also look at ways to communicate through internet.
The video from the project Come Together in Sweden, Rwanda and Tanzania has just ended, and for those of you who are able to see and read it, you can see that the focus here was on youth participation, and between different countries the value of young people with disabilities working and communicating with each other. And of course the ideal situation which we would have in remote participation is that we wouldn't be watching a video, but they would be telling us directly and interacting with us and asking the panel speakers the speakers questions and responding. So this would be, this was the first try for us, so we did not dare, and it wasn't technically possible, but this would be what we would be hoping to have with such remote participation in the conference. And do we have also, we have another video that we're showing, and this is from the group time group.
Yes, the Right2 group is an example of how you can participate in standardization. And this is actually standardization for cognitive accessibility. So we have a group in Sweden with cognitive disabilities that are working together and participating in international meetings. And they are, what they are doing is that they sit together, and some people that prefer to sit at home, they can interact and be part of a meeting where they decide on standards for cognitive accessibility and actually be there and write the standards. So we are going to hear soon from one of the participants in this Right2 group. She is called Mia Larsdotter, and she has recorded her PowerPoint with a sound. We hope that it will be working, and an image. If it doesn't work, I can start. You will find it, and I can come together. No, no. I know. What we'll do in the meantime, I can tell you about another project in the meantime while we're looking for that one. So I will tell you about something that we did at the Swedish Disability Federation 6 years ago. And this has to go with political participation. Because I don't know what it is like in your countries, but in Sweden, when we have an election, the questions that are important to people with disabilities, they're not usually on the national television. Those are not the questions that people are talking about. So what we usually do as a national NGO with 39 members is that we do our own seminars. So we invite politicians to talk to us, and we can ask them our questions. The problem with that is that when we do this in a room